All right, this morning's a little bit of a weird setup here. I know it looks a little bit different. Why? Because of the fact that we are trying to figure out everything that we're doing for the live stream at the Shannon Rose Bar and Grill on Monday, Truckosaurus. It's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've talked about this ad nauseum per about a million times. It's going to be at the Shannon Grill Bar and Grill in Clifton, New Jersey. So if you're in the area, make sure you stop by. We're going to be starting at 7 o'clock. Streaming through probably the first half. We haven't even decided yet. So we're going to see how the game goes. Plus, I believe the Yankee game is on at the same time. So it's going to be a little bit more interesting to see where we're at and how that's going to work out. But today, of course, we want to talk about the New York Giants. We want to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. We want to talk about the likes of Russell Wilson. Again, starting week 2 now, his second week after. You got to love the team like the Giants. We are literally in the doldrums. We are literally 2-5, and we don't want to make a change at quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-2. Justin Fields has the morale of the team rallying behind him. Justin Fields, that is. And the likes of Russell Wilson now all of a sudden is starting, comes in and wins last week. Now they have the Giants on home on Monday night. We know the record. What are we, 2-15 Daniel Jones is on primetime games? So if we take a look at it from the thought process of how bad can this get? Well, it gets worse every day. We have the whole Dante Banks issue with him dogging it on that play. He did. He slowed up. He stopped. He did everything that he shouldn't have done in reference to being an NFL corner. But at the end of the day, he's still a second-year pro. But nobody wants to talk about the fact that Bobby Okereke decided himself a couple times that he didn't want to play. He didn't want to run. He didn't go full speed, didn't go full board at the defender, as the defender. There was a couple plays you could see him literally slowing up. But all we're going to do is we're going to talk about Mr. Banks because of the fact that he was another first-round pick by the Shane. He was this guy that was supposed to come in here, which he did at points in time and started playing well, being that lockdown corner, being that guy that you thought he could be. But at the end of the day, we all know what happens. Let's go to the chat real quick. We got some people in there. We got to give a big shout out to Mike Lee, who's traveling. So safe travels, Mike Lee. Barber says another wasted season because Giants didn't address the quarterback position. They addressed it, but the problem was the address was labeled 123 Happy Street, Daniel Jones Way. And I think that's the way they addressed it. And I think at the end of the day, they can't figure how they're going to address it in the future. We're already out scouting quarterbacks again, but in 3 years, we've scouted how many quarterbacks? 4,568. I'm drinking my coffee here because we're doing the ASMR. Oh, it's going to be fun. Drew says, we need a video going through all the career Daniel Jones and for people who got fired, cut, etc. That's a long video. I don't think we have enough time to do that. I think we would literally have to do that for we would literally have to do that for that would have to be a 17-parter. It would be 17 part. It'd be part 15. The Golden Domer. Golden Tate. But there's a little bit too much going on there. Joe Rev says, what does Joe Rev say? Gletton Morgan, her online pro 8 and G fan, we're practicing for the German game. We're all glutton for punishment. We've got Mo at Olsen. So go, what's up, Tim? What's going on? Matthew coming in strong this morning. Say good morning, Timbo BB family. Let's hope this is the last we see Daniel Jones. Now you're going to see him either way, even if he doesn't play. I mean, there was been some hints, there were some innuendos, there was some speculation that because of the injury clause, even Mara was hinting at the fact that you may see Drew Lock or the likes of others playing. The likes of others, the other like of others is going to be Tommy DeVito. I'm not sure that's the way we want to go, is go with Tommy DeVito. I think we can pass on that, please. I think everyone knows that Tommy DeVito is not a starting NFL quarterback. At least I hope everyone does. James Stein says, good morning, Tim. Do you think Jones could be his last game this week if the Giants lose this week? I'm going to say no. I'm going to say at this point in time, I'm going to say it's not going to be his last game. If the offensive line falters and they do have some initial concerns about his ability to stay healthy for the season so that injury clause doesn't kick in, there may be moments where they pull him. But you basically had John Mayer give it his seal of approval for both Joe Shane and Brian Dable, saying, "Oh my goodness gracious, these guys are going to be back next year." They also had the seal approval for Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge at one point in time, and I think we all know how that worked out. We got big old T Brad saying, "Make sure you hit the like button because it's early in the morning." Like I said, if you didn't notice, we're in a different location today because we're practicing for the live stream tomorrow from the Shun and Rose Bar and Grill in Clifton, New Jersey. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're going to be in the area or you're just in Jersey alone and want to take a drive up, watch us do the live stream, watch us call the game a little bit. We'll even call a little bit of the Yankee games just a bit outside. Tried the corner and missed. Matthew also says Dable isn't the one who can make the call to bench Jones permanently. Is there a reason why he shouldn't or why he wouldn't? You go back to the go back to the Geno Smith debacle with Eli Manning in that game in what was it, in Oakland. We basically benched our gentleman who was on, we're not going to say his name, Eli Manning, who was on his consecutive Ironman streak. And we basically said, listen, Eli, you could play the first half, but then we're going to start another guy in the second half like it was preseason. That's not winning football. That's not the way you set this up. This is the same team that ran victory formation twice in their own end in a game that they were losing because of the fact that they had no faith in the quarterback. And I think there is I think there is a if you take a look at this over the time, there seems to be a pattern since going back to the end of Eli Manning's career, not finding the quarterback, not finding who we need, and then not having the rationale to draft someone. We all talk about how Jerry Reese wanted to go out and same with the doo-doo. He wanted to go out and get Patrick Mahomes, but we didn't. How the fortunes may have changed if we drafted differently that year. We got the big old T Brad saying, "Good morning, Tim. Good morning, group." Michael says, "Tim, 2-6 Giants suck." Listen, I don't want to break the news to anyone, but a couple years ago, the 7-2 Giants sucked. But the problem was this: they then went 2-5-1. But nobody wants to talk about that. We don't want to bring that up because why? Because that would just prove the point that we have been heading in the wrong direction before I can even remember. What do we got here? We got the Admiral Matumbo coming in. Tim, do you prefer, let's see here, do you prefer Cat or Mitch at 5? What are we talking Knicks for? When we match up against the sick. Well, right now, Mitchell Robinson has to come out of the, he's not going to be back from his injury, I think, till December. And right now you got the big bodega coming in strong. He had a nice game yesterday against 2 days ago against the Pacers. Everyone bashed the Knicks the other day after that blowout loss in Boston. But of course, they are raising the banners. They are the world champions. They are the pinnacle who we want to be. I wanna be like Mike. But we're just not them. And we're not them yet because we have to build some continuity. And then we go out and smoke the Indiana Pacers. We passed the Deutsche from the left-hand side. It was good. It was fun. It was exciting. But you know what? Like I said, let's get to those games before, and let's get Mitchie the Kid back before we can say anything else. Matthew says Giants are going to lose. It's just a matter of by how much. Defensively, the Steelers are strong. I mean, they are not a team that you're going to trifle with. You're not a team. They're not a team you're going to run up and down on the field on. They're just not that. They're just not that group. And at this point in time, we have to have this understanding that we are probably going to be limited offensively. We are going to have some issues probably running the ball. We're also going to have some issues throwing the ball. This is a 5-2 team under Mike Tomlin. All Mike Tomlin does is win. All Mike Tomlin does is make sure that he has the ability to move his team into the right direction. You got some guys you're going to look at that are, they're going to be questionable. They're going to be out coming up. You got a couple of their linebackers, one of their wide receivers. What's his name? Rome Wilson looks like he is out. One of their linebackers is out as well. Actually, I believe 2 of the linebackers out as well. You also have Zach Frazier out. Actually, he is going to play. Well, no, his status is out now. So you got some guys you're going to look at and you're going to say, okay, well, maybe the Giants can exploit some things. But when you have a professional quarterback like Russell Wilson and you have a backup in the regards to Justin Fields sitting on your team, and you have what's his name, Najee Harris out there as well. It's just one of these teams that we're going to take a look at it and we're going to see that it's going to go bad quick. I think Pickens is going to get behind this defense. I think, I think their tight end, I can't remember his name. It's Pat, Free Mullet or something like that. I can't remember his name. I know he's got almost 250 yards on 24 receptions, already 2 touchdowns. He's going to rip up the middle of that field as well. I think it's going to be interesting to watch Brian Burns play because of the fact that we've seen him progress a little bit more in reference to his game without the likes of his ghost brother on the other side, Kayvon Thibodeau. So we got to kind of see how he plays. He's been playing a little bit better the last 2 games with Azeez Ojulari on the other side, who may potentially be a trade candidate if we drop this game. We're going to have to start talking about, because it's early November, the trade deadline. So we're going to start talking about who we're going to get rid of, who we can potentially move on from. If the Giants are going to be sellers. I mean, I think the Giants have to be sellers. I mean, they really do. They have to be sellers at this point in time. Why? Because we like you, MOUSC. Because of the fact they just have to. We have given away too many players and gotten nothing in return, have not gotten the value we deserve besides the compensatory picks. But we got to find something in some way to get these guys, to get some assets, to get some, from what we have on this roster and the way we look at this roster. And I keep saying it over and over again. This is a cut and paste team. We're cut and pasting players from other organizations in the draft into systems that they may not be meant for. And I said it before, I give Shane Bowen all the credit in the world. Shane Bowen, I thought he came in here, he was going to run his Tennessee-style defense. And I was more worried that he was going to kind of do what the Wink did and try to fit his system around the players he has instead of fitting the players around the system. I mean, it's one of those things you looked at and like he's going to try to force feed these guys into the system that he ran in Tennessee. And he didn't. He's created his own system. He's now not rushing, solely trying to generate the rush with 4. He's dropping. He's bringing in the safeties. He's getting a little bit more exotic with his blitz packages. He's kind of reminded me of being a little bit Wink-esque. So we got to kind of wait and see how that's going to go. But I think we need to be sellers. I think in this market, except for the interest rate, we need to figure out how to sell. So, I don't have the drum roll. Oh, I do. Hey-oh, I found it. We don't have the big soundboard. We have just the regular podcast board. So like I said, we are doing our little test here for what's going to be coming up on Monday. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Once we get mathematically out of the playoffs, Hunt Jones should be sat. I mean, I think we're mathematically out of the playoffs now because you have Daniel Jones in the equation. It's New York Giants plus NFL playoffs greater than Daniel Jones minus his ability to play equals out of the playoffs in October. I kind of thinking that way. Pittsburgh's pass defense is top. Jones pass is bottom. That's a bad combo. The Steelers pass defense is pretty, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. These are guys that if you take a look at it on paper, it's a good team in reference to getting after the quarterback. It's a good team to get ready to front the ball, which Jackson, I believe, has 3 interceptions. I think their other corner, Bishop, has 2. I'm not sure about the other ones, but I know I like the other corner and Joey Porter Jr. I love it the other day when someone was like saying to me, Tim, we should trade for Joey Porter Jr. Yeah, because the 5-2 Pittsburgh Steelers, who are rolling into the playoffs, are going to trade one of their corners right now because that's just the most prudent thing to do. Bueller. But we have to wait and see. Like I said, David says, I have a bad feeling he will get injured on Monday night and the injured clause will screw us up again. Listen, we're screwed either way. He's got a $22 million dead cap hit. We all know that. We have to take a look at this from the perspective of even if he's not here physically or mentally next year, if it's the feng shui and his body and spirit is not here, this is what's going to happen. He's still going to be here because of that cap space. Now, yes, you can divide that $22 million over 2 years, but Joe Shane likes to take all the cap hit up front. Take a look at what happened with the Logan Ryan deal. Logan Ryan, they only saved, I think, that first season. I think they only saved like $800,000 when they could have saved like $2.5 million. But then he would have had larger cap hits throughout the year. So he does like to take the cap hit up front. So that's going to be interesting. So we got Mr. Damian Jackson with a big old super chat saying they think that the playoffs years was 2007's. It's literally backwards in 2007. We started bad and then got good. In 2022, we flamed out late. 2007, the Spagnuolo defense looked like it was going to be a bottom of the league defense. You had Strahan, you had Antonio Pierce, you had all these guys that, and you kind of thought that this defense that they had turned on Tom Coughlin, the whole if you're not 5 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late scenario. And it was when Strahan basically sat Coughlin down and said, "Listen, you got a bunch of good guys here. They'll play for you. Just kind of stop being a dick." And that's what he did. And the defense finally kind of figured it takes some time to gel. That's why I always tell people about the Knick game on that home opener, or that not home opener, but the season opener. I said, don't worry about it. You got smoked by the world champs. It's nothing to be concerned about. Everyone was already telling me that Bridges, he looks shot. We gave up 7,460 unprotected first round picks for him, and he looks terrible. Well, no, it was one game, and then he has this huge game against Indiana, and the whole pendulum swings back the other way. But you're right, we flamed out in that 2-5-1 finish, and really we haven't recovered in almost going on 2 years now, if you think about it. And I think that's what that's something we got to take a look at down at the long haul. Let me go back up to the chat here. We got Blackbird. What's going on, Blackbird? Good morning. Blackbird also says, we got a 2 for 2. Blackbird, I'm late for the party. I might have to join the Daniel Jones fanboy club. If he throws a touchdown pass to Malik Neighbors, he'll complete my parlay. It's the little things in life. It's the things in life you have to look at and say, you know what? We have to complete the parlay. If Daniel Jones can win you some money and not win us the game, then I'll be happy. I'll be extremely. T-Brad says, good luck on the 28th. Mr. Jackson says, hey, Tim, will you accept in-person fan questions tomorrow? I can really want some feet on the ground views of the. Oh, yeah, we're going to take. We literally have 4 different microphones right now. And we are going to be taking questions from the bar. We are going to be giving away New York Giants replica Super Bowl rings. We also have other goodie bag stuff to be given out for questions. We're going to do some trivia questions, yes. But I'm going to send out James Williams and do a fan on the street segment. I'm going to put a wireless mic on James and send him to the bar. Just try to keep him out of the bathroom. Hey-oh. Let's see. Yeah, but we are going to take questions. We're also going to take questions from because like I said, we're going to stream this live. And then we're also going to have this up on, we're going to do the live podcast for this as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're in the area, make sure you stop on by. I've got the Steelers defense and Pickens and Fanny, so I'm praying the Giants will get smoked. Sad, isn't it? Yeah, it is kind of sad. We already have Blackbird saying it should be the 7-2 Giants. Vinny G, what's up? Timmy said Giants are going to suck 31-6. Well, Vinny, we're not doing the scores yet. But if I was to pick your score, I would say that would probably be pretty close to what it's going to be. Blackbird says, I don't remember those days. It has the Lakers best AD, the Lakers best player since he's got there. When will people see you don't win with Mickey Mouse championships without him? You don't. And they haven't won a Mickey Mouse championship since the bubble. So Blackbird says Giants will upset Steelers. It will be a close game. What do you think the close game is going to be? Jovi, let's see here. Joe Esquire says, GM Tim, did you get to watch the Duke documentary? Must watch for any football fan. Giants fans should have pride, even though we haven't had a reason to lately. Wellington helped shape the league. I didn't watch it. I know a lot about Wellington Mara. I've talked about Wellington Mara ad nauseum on this show. I met Wellington Mara briefly a few times in the early 80s when I was a kid, when my father used to do some work with Wellington Mara. So, I mean, he was a larger than life figure as it was. He was one of the people that moved the needle on this entire, NFL thing. I think there's only a couple of things that are, I think it's only a little bit of a, the NFL is only a little bit of a franchise, but I definitely do have to watch it. What have we got? Jalen Drones. I always love these comments. This organization is not serious about winning NFL championships. It is run like a family business, a mom and pop deli. Well, here's the problem with that. Mom and pop delis are good. Giants aren't. Mom and pop delis have those sandwiches of the week. Have those sandwiches named after people. We don't. So I wish we did. Matthew says, can we trade DJs for soda money? Large free Pepsi for season ticket holders. Listen, I mean, I understand the the thought process about trying to trade Daniel Jones. But you got to remember, if you trade Daniel Jones, and I'm not talking about you, Matthew. I know you were saying this in tongue in cheek, but I've seen this on the internet. We need to trade. We're going to give up the second pick and Daniel Jones, and we're going to send him for Matthew Stafford, and everything's going to be great. Well, the only problem is Matthew Stafford's contract does not fit under the Giants' contract situation, even trading Daniel Jones. And then you're still going to have the dead cap number for Daniel Jones. And you're going to be giving up assets for a quarterback when you're already a 2-win team. So I'm not really thinking that's going to happen that much. Blackbird said, I watched the film. Deontay Bangladesh Jalen Hurts run right by him in the fourth quarter. He could have tackled him, but he slowed down. I watched, and like I said, I'm not telling you he did not dog it. I am not telling you Deontay Banks shouldn't be taken out behind the woodshed. I'm not telling you any of that. What I am telling you though is this defense at times, some of the players on defense have kind of gotten the Kayvon Thibodeau effect, where you don't really try full board to go out there. I mean, it's not like we've seen the likes of Kayvon Thibodeau get blocked by like a quarterback or something. We've never seen that before. Basically give a lackluster effort, but no one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about the fact that, like I said, if you take a look at some of the plays, Bobby Okereke did the same thing. And I like Bobby Okereke, but Bobby Okereke slowed down at times as well when he should have been full board, but he didn't move in that direction. So we got to take the good with the bad. Fork Tongue says, how much of an issue, in your opinion, is the awful turf situation at MetLife attributed to the Giants' struggles? Here's the thing you got to remember. This is new turf. This turf is only 2 years old. I literally, because, we always have these hard-hitting reports. Here's the actual turf from Giant Stadium. This was not too long ago. You can literally see the seams. Now I've been on the new turf, I would say at least 6 or 7 times. And I mean physically on the field, not just like on the sidelines. I've been on the field and you can literally see the seams in this turf. Now I know what they like to do is they use this machine that sometimes they can kind of brush it so you don't see it. But I mean, I do think the turf has some issues, and I do think the turf has some problems. Probably people are like, you know what, him and Fork Tongue got together on this, because how could he have a picture of a turf? I mean, you've had some players already complain that they don't want to play on, they don't like playing at MetLife because of the turf. And like I said, this turf is like 2 years old. It's supposed to be this best synthetic turf. You didn't go at the Kentucky Bluegrass like I thought they should have. But what do I know? I only had a picture of the turf. What have we got? James coming in there. If the Giants, Jones gets hurt in this game and his injury clause kicks in, who do we blame for this massive screw up because of his injury clause? We kept from us improving this team from 2025 and beyond. I said the minute the Giants signed Daniel Jones to this contract, I said it. And everyone told me, you have no idea what you're talking about. I said it. There is no way this is going to set this team back, and we are not going to be good again until at least 2026, 2027. Because they're like, well, there's a 3-year out. Well, no, there's technically a 4-year out because you're still going to owe them something in year 3. And I knew they were going to kick the can down the road. And because of their salary cap situation, sort of like the Boogie Basham thing. Boogie got waived because of the fact that the Giants are looking for money to sign a left tackle. Now, Ellie Moore Fudd said, he came out on Twitter and said, I'm playing today. Well, tomorrow. Well, we'll have to kind of see what happens with that. Blackbird says, we could have traded McKinney and Bark last year at the trade deadline if we knew we wouldn't be re-signing them. So we could have got something in return. You knew you weren't re-signing Barkley. You knew it. That was already a done deal. That was done. That was over. That wasn't even a thought process anymore. McKinney, I always say that like Hard Knocks was the window into the looking glass. And the problem is looking into the looking glass is we didn't like what we saw. And I get worried that we're going to kind of head down the same direction and the same road this year and not move on for certain players. I mean, honestly, I've said it before. You have to take a look contractually where these guys are at. Is the likes of Dexter Lawrence going to be still at his top level when we're finally good? Is Brian Burns better than Kayvon Thibodeau? Can you get along without Azeez Ojulari? Can you move Wan'Dale Robinson for something? Because like I said, Wan'Dale Robinson to me is 4 yards in a cloud of dust. He should be used like Darren Sproles, but he isn't. I was very excited last week because you saw him in the backfield a few times. And I was like, you know what? Hand the ball off to him. Do something different. Be bold, and mighty forces will come to your aid. But I have to take a look at it and go, if we think we are banking on a quarterback to come in and save this team, it's going to have to be a quarterback that is already established, because unless you're going to get a CJ Stroud, you're going to be very hard pressed to have a quarterback come in here immediately and all of a sudden start and show something. So you have to kind of figure out where you are. Do you need the assets? You still need to build cap space because you have the maturing contracts of Dexter Lawrence and Andrew Thomas. Nobody wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about the fact that you coincided these contracts together when there was no need to do that. I don't understand why Joe Shane did that as well. You are trying to move money around by moving players out so you can bring players in because you have right now limited salary cap space. I mean, it's not a good situation to be in. And then you have a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're gonna probably drop this game and you're gonna head over. I believe we're heading over to London next. It's just not a good scenario right now. What do we got here? Mom and Pop Deli usually run with quality service over efficiency. How are the Giants like that? They're not. Good point. Jay Sports Card. What's up, Jay Sports Card? Mara needs to sell a team like Jerry Jones. He's screwing up his own franchise. That ain't gonna happen. James Dolan will sell the Knicks or the Rangers before that happens. Blazin says, good morning, Tim. Good morning, G Family. Blackbird also says, Logan Ryan. Yeah, no, I'm not saying Logan Ryan didn't have to go. But the way he could have done a pre-June 1st cut, you're allowed 2 of those, which basically says before June 1st, I am cutting this guy. The problem was doing that, you were then dividing up some money into 2 years instead of taking the cap hit in 1. Joe Shane decided to take all the caps hit in 1 year and only collect about $690,000 in cap space for the following season. So that was the mistake. And I don't understand why he just didn't spread the cap money out. Yes, you are going to be pushing some money down the road, but we're always kicking the can down the road. So, I mean, I don't understand why he didn't go that direction, but let's see here. Blackbird Blazin says Mara does need to sell. What do we got here going on? These Stooges can't get anything right. Hey, Mo, at least the Stooges were funny. Even now, if you watch the Three Stooges, except when you watch the likes of Curly Joe, they're funny. The Giants, it's just not funny to watch. And for Joe Shane and Brian Dable to get the Mara seal of approval, that, hey, you know what, they're going to be back next year, because I love everyone who says, well, we can't just keep changing GMs and head coaches every 4 years. Well, technically you can, because other organizations have fired guys after 2 years because of the fact that if they're not bringing in the necessary assets to help you win and get better outside of one season, and now you have been horrendous since that blowout loss in Philadelphia 2 years ago in the playoffs, I think we got a problem there. What do we got here? Jennifer says, Tim, we're going nowhere with Jones playing. He will continue to run into traffic, hoping to get hit, cash his injury policy. Mara will fold to Belichick, and then he will clean house. No, Belichick's not coming here. If you saw you saw what Belichick said about the Giants and Daniel Jones in this situation, Daniel Jones would have to be gone. I think he's still a little bit upset, Belichick, about his replacement pick for Tom Brady. Mac Jones did not do his reputation wonders. Belichick got mad when Mayo came out the other day and said that his defense was basically dogging it. And this was a top defense last year under Belichick. It was a quarterback that caused them to have more issues. But Belichick's not coming here. Belichick is not coming here whatsoever. After what I saw, Evan Ingram in his first game back, 10 catches, 102 yards. Yeah, Evan Ingram couldn't play. Second year in Jacksonville, he has the second most receptions by a tight end in a single season in NFL history, but he couldn't play. He couldn't play. Much love. Well, we got Kevin going, oh, it's on 10 piece. Jennifer says, are we going to lose again? Though the Mara Cousins will not run up the score. Steelers 31, Giants 16. We already had a 31-16. I got to put this guy in timeout. Put ban user and put in timeout. You've been banned and you've been put in timeouts. I think we already had someone already say 31-16. I can see 31-16. I could see Pickens getting behind the Giants. Listen, the Giants secondary, if we think about this for a moment, have they really been tested because of the ferociousness of the defense and the front seven and the rush? Have they really been tested? And the times that they have been tested early in the season, such as the likes of you take a look at the likes of Minnesota and a few other games in Philadelphia, you're going to get behind. You're going to get if the rush doesn't get there and you have a quality NFL quarterback, you are going to run into a buzzsaw and it's going to get behind the secondary. So before I start anointing the secondary to Newman and Phillips as these greatest players of all time that we've ever seen, can we at least wait and see if they have the ability to go through a 16, 17 game season before and actually get tested when the pass rush isn't there? Because like I said, the pass rush will make any secondary look good if they're getting to the quarterback. It's when the pass rush doesn't get the quarterback and you have those extra 2-3 seconds in the secondary, you have to stay with your man, maintain your defensive zone. That's when things are going to get a little bit bumpy. Kevin wants to know, how about Brian Burns? How about Brian Burns? You're not going to trade Brian Burns. You just gave him that huge contract. I would move on from Kayvon Thibodeau, to be honest. I know, because you know what? You can't screw up 5-7. That's why I'm a genius. 5-7. You can't screw that shit up, can you? Yeah, not looking at you, Joe Shang. But I have to wait and see what his injury is going to be. But if you're going to move on from anyone, why not move on from the carbon copy you have? Because you're going to have to consider paying him next year, because he's going to have to pick up that. You're going to have to pick up that cap number. You're going to have to. You're going to have to decide if you're going to pick up his 5th-year option at the beginning of year 4. So I mean, it's gonna be an interesting dilemma. Blackbird says, for us to win, it's more likely we're going to have an ugly game, 13-10. For us to win, the Steelers really have to do everything wrong. Russell Wilson has to revert to Denver Russell. Russell Wilson has to revert to Seattle Russell Wilson back in 2001 when Carter Coughlin basically contained him the entire game. And but the problem is this: you got Justin Fields backing him up. You got Justin Fields. We'll call him Jesse Orozco or what's his name, or Franco, or even Mariano Rivera. He's sitting there in the wings waiting to mop up. He's waiting for Justin to make that mistake. Justin's waiting for Russell's to make that mistake. This is what kills me about the Steelers, and we've talked about this. The Steelers did not like their quarterback room with Pickett and Mason last year. They didn't like it. They still made the playoffs. They still did everything they needed to, but they did not like their quarterback room. They thought their quarterback room was crap. So what did they do? In the infinite wisdom, they basically dumped their entire quarterback room and revamped it, and were paying less money to have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields replace Mason Rudolph and Kenny Pickett. They went from, we've talked about it before, they have like an $8 million quarterback bucket this year because Russell Wilson's making $1.5 million. And this is the same Russell Wilson that the New York Giants sat there and said to, listen, Russell, we may be your first stop on the Russell Wilson tour in reference to, coming in and taking a look at other teams. But here's the problem, Russell. Daniel Jones is our starter. N-G-O-B-I-N-G-O, and bingo was his name. I'm in the living room. Well, actually, I'm in the kitchen. I guess I'm in the I don't know where I'm at. But right now, as you can see, like I said, we are doing the test right now in reference to drinking some coffee. We're doing a test right now in regards to how this is going to work on on Monday. Make sure you stay tuned for that. Matthew says, get Wonka. Blackbird says, Matthew Stafford will retire in a couple years, so you would need a quarterback to replace him. I keep telling people, more than likely that Daniel Jones is going to be the bridge. He is going to be the bridge quarterback. You may take a quarterback in 2025, but you're going to need someone to help get that quarterback to the next level. You don't have Tyrod Taylor here. So basically I would want a quarterback that could come in here for at least, kind of do an Eli Manning, Daniel Jones, come in here and play at least 3-4 games and then let the kid come in and play kind of what they did everywhere else in this league. I think it'd be a great spot. Blackbird says the defense quit. The defense did quit at times on the other day against the Eagles. The defense quit because they know the offense is trash. I have a problem with the defense quitting because of the fact that if you think the offense is trash, you shouldn't quit because of the fact that you still have the ability to score on defense. You still have the ability to basically get to the quarterback, get the interception, get a fumble. We've talked about it before in the early 80s. I believe it was I can't remember if it was Bradley Van Pelt or Brian Kelly, the former Giant linebackers. They used to, because the offense back in the early 80s was horrendous. And they would basically come off the field, the offense, and as the defense walked onto the field and vice versa, the defense would look at the offense and say, hey, listen, you guys on offense, try to hold the defense, and we'll try to hold them. We'll score on defense. So, I mean, there's something there to be said. Brian Burns is way more than Kayvon Thibodeau. He is more polished pass rusher. He is more of a pass rusher moves, and you can drop Burns in the coverage. Burns is not the best person in the coverage. I keep hearing this. He's not great in coverage. He's not great against the run. But yes, he has more of a plethora of pass rushing moves than the likes of Kayvon Thibodeau. But you basically went out and got a carbon copy player. I mean, that we gotta kind of leave it at that. Can Evan Neal be worse than Jonathan Azuda? Evan Neal got some first team reps at right tackle on Friday. Does that mean, who is going to start? I mean, like I said, you have Ellie Moore Fudd basically saying that I'm going to play on Monday. I don't know what the apprehension is about moving Ellie Moore Fudd over to the left tackle and installing Evan Neal or Joshua Azuda at the right tackle position. I know you're kind of potentially weakening both sides of the line, but you did go out and pay the guy. And you went out and drafted another guy, at 7 2 years ago. Joshua Azuda, how he started over Evan Neal, I don't know. Evan Neal is so deep in the doghouse, he doesn't know what to do. He's so deep in the doghouse, he's found that tennis ball that was lost like 3.5 years ago. Oh my God. Blackbird says we played the Commanders after. Oh, that's right. We played the Commanders after the Steelers game. I'll be going to that game with the venerable James Williams. We're actually having breakfast with Rodney Hampton, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for that. We'll have some pictures and photos from that coming up as well. We also have what's up, Pip? Name Slickback. Watching the Giants is like having sleep paralysis. You can't ever wake up. They are like a nightmare. And they are like a bad nightmare, and they are like a nightmare you can never wake up from. So we got to kind of wait and see what happens, and we're going to kind of go from there. Jay Sports Car says Mara is about as crazy as the Crackler. Oh my God, yeah, Mara's. I don't understand Mara. Eagles are gelling, and they look like they figured something out, but I think they will lose to the Bengals today. I think they smoked the Bengals today. You had a giant homer after the loss to say that he wasn't impressed with the Eagles defense. Very popular giant homer. Not going to say who it is, license plate guy. But you had him basically say that the defense just doesn't look good. This defense is young and gelling. That kid from Toledo, he's a player. You have the Dijon Mustard. I like that the coach called him he's a meat and potatoes guy. He also can return punts without fumbling. So it's one of those shocking things. But you have a young, growing defense. You have a good defensive line. You have veterans in the linebacking core and on the line itself that you looked at them in the last couple of weeks. They're getting better and better and better. And as they come together on the new defensive coordinator, they're just going to get better because of the fact that this isn't the same team from last year, the Eagles. I think they take out the Bengals 35-17. We have no type of tight end game. We got Theo Johnson, man. Theo Johnson coming out of Penn State. One thing that everyone said about him was the fact that he was beyond inconsistent and seemed disinterested. all the athletic ability in the world, all the talent in the world, but he just didn't seem interested. And that's a bad combination when you draft a guy and you want him to be your starting tight end, because Dane Bellinger is Caden Smith. Talked about this before. Caden Smith at least could catch the ball, but he was going to get you a negative yak. He was going to make you yak on the yak. Get it? Pun. Play on words. Dane Bellinger is not a good blocker. Dane Bellinger is not good in the passing game. He's got, I know he bulked up, has got the body of an Adonis. But of course that doesn't translate. We once had the JPP of tight ends on this team. The freak of athletic ability. Yeah, it didn't work out too well. Blackbird says, I couldn't believe Jones said he was pissed off that he got benched. I'm not even going to talk about that garbage and what he said, because he should just shut up. He should just drink a big tall glass, shut the fuck up. The point that we're competing against a multi-billion-dollar cutthroat corporations that prioritize results over loyalty to a failed quarterback. Mara can't do that. The Maras are out of their depth. It really is. You really wonder exactly what the Maras are thinking in regards to this situation, because of the fact that you continuously talk about how we've done nothing but screw this kid up for the last 5 years. That's what we've done, everything to screw this kid up. We've done everything that's just not right. Well, here's the problem. He's not a kid anymore. He's going to be, what is he, 27 now? He's been in the league for 5 years, and you haven't seen consistent improvement. And I think that's where you need to look at this. You're not seeing consistent improvement from his play. And if you don't see something, you don't see someone getting consistently better, you see them getting consistently worse. Do you really sit there and continue to decide to yourself, hey, listen, this is the guy we want to go down the road. This is the guy we want. This is the sword that we want to fall on, when you've had the ability to basically go out and get people and get even an opportunity to bring somebody in, and we still look at it and kind of say to ourselves, you know what, there's no one else better out there. Like, why would we ever want to get the likes of like Baker Mayfield? Baker Mayfield turned that Tampa franchise around. Oh, I got to kick someone else out of the stream. What is this? Ban this person from the stream. You're banned. You're banned. He's banned. We're all banned. I keep banning people and they keep coming back. Why do they keep coming back when I keep banning them? But if you are looking for the everyday streaming, the best streaming of NFL games, make sure you go to that person that I just banned. I have to laugh. It's every time we get asked to do something, and anytime we have a new sponsor or something come on board, it's always, they're always like, well, you know what it is? It's, they always come through the podcast. And I always forget about the podcast, because basically the podcast is just a reinstituting of this channel itself. But the podcast does extremely well. And it wasn't until the other day that I looked at the numbers. I'm like, wow, this podcast does really well. So I think we're gonna have to try to a little bit more of a hyper focus of the podcast of itself. Give it its own little life, give it its own little manner, because of the fact that I do think that there's an interesting dichotomy and element to the podcast itself. So I do think we're gonna have to try to work on that one. A little bit more, kind of go from there. But I think that I always thought that was interesting. We got Blackbird says Pickens caught his first TD with Russ at quarterback. Yeah, he's only played one game with Russ at quarterback. That's what I think is funny. He's only played one game with Russ at quarterback. Hey, is anyone doing anything on Monday? Anything doing them, Bueller? Maybe you want to go to the Shannon Rose Irish Pub in Clifton, New Jersey, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We may start a little bit early. May start around 6:30. Haven't even decided yet. We're going to go through the first half. We're going to go through halftime. We're going to see how well. We're going to do a little Yankee preview as well. But make sure if you're not doing anything on October 28th, which is Monday, you're in the Clifton, New Jersey area, stop by the Shannon Road Irish Pub. Say, hey, we're going to be in the sport room. You won't be able to miss us. Just look for the giant goalpost. Yeah, and you'll see it. It's gonna be fun. Make sure you stop on by. Matthew says, I wish a reporter would say, have you seen the last 5 years? You should be pissed. You're a mediocre quarterback. you go back to even the mid 80s, early 90s in reference to beat writers and reporters. You take a look at like the likes of Dick Young and some other of the older guys who are no longer with us, and they basically called out players. They basically, they wrote for the team, but they wrote from the team, I think, in regards to a fan perspective. And I think that's what we're lacking now. I think everyone has the internet, the advent of the internet and all social media has given everyone a voice. And the majority of the time, the voices are voices of the fans, which is fine. But the problem is, at the end of the day, no one's really giving you the honest truth. And I don't think you get, I don't think you get the accolades that you want by telling the truth. You get it more by kind of, contorting the truth a little bit and going from there. So I do think that we that sometimes a free press is not so free. I think we've seen that coming up in every walks of life. Blackbird says Kayvon has not lived up to being the 5th overall pick. I actually wanted to Giants to draft. I wanted the Giants to draft Kayvon Thibodeau as well. I said taking him in 5 and taking a linebacker at 7 would have fixed the defense. I didn't believe the stories out of Oregon that he dogged it. I didn't believe the stories out of coming out of the combine that he had taken plays off. You took a look at the way he played at Oregon, and you're like, I don't see it. But again, like I said, one of the problems are when you go to the YouTube and see certain things, you're looking at highlights. You're not seeing all 45 of his snaps. So he has a propensity to dog it. He has a propensity to do that. Blackbird says the Falcons did the same thing as the Steelers did, ramp up their quarterback room as well. Good moves. The Steelers are the Steelers, the Packers, and the Baltimore Ravens, and of course Kansas City are the pinnacle of the franchise that you want to be, because they try to do it. They seem to always do everything right. Tyrod Taylor is a perfect bridge quarterback. Tyrod Taylor would have been, if you were going to have a quarterback in 2025, he's the perfect bridge guy. He could start the first 3 games. He could turn around, and then if you bench him, it's not like he hasn't been the placeholder for a quarterback. I think 3 times now with number one overall picks, or not number one overall picks, but just number one picks in general. That he was the bridge guy. He's the perfect bridge fit. You can't get a pick 6. You can get a pick or 6 or a fumble. Yes, so we have. What's up, Zach Attack? Yeah, I took care of the bots. The problem is I don't have both monitors up, so I can't see where the bots are. Neil is in the doghouse. There's the bot in the chat. Yeah. I got the bot in the chat. I got the I got him. I keep putting them in. They keep coming in. I don't understand how they keep coming back. It's the same one as well, and I keep blocking them. Everyone just loves this channel. That's the reason why. What do we got, Johnny? What do we got here, Johnny AB? Another Shane thinking he's the smartest man in the room example. He's trying to tell a former Super Bowl winning quarterback that's known tried hard that he has no chance of competing for the starting quarterback position. We've talked about that, Dan. When Russell Wilson was going through his tour, his free agency tour. His first stop was New York. People forget his first stop was the Giants. And the likes of Joe Shane basically told Russell Wilson, who came out and said, I will take the veteran minimum. I will take $1.5 million. Came out and said, hey, listen, you're not going to start. Daniel Jones is our starter. That should have gotten him fired right away. Let's see. LBG is the wannabe Fireman Ed. Fireman Ed's got problems right now too. Fireman Ed is a fan, and that's it. He's got some problems with the LBG as a fan. That's it. Cutthroat said, what do we got? Cutthroat said, someone get the spammer out of the chat. I already took care of it. I already see. I got to get the other screen. Hold on. You know what? I'm gonna put another screen up. Here we go. So we're gonna do this the right way. Hold on, everyone, just amuse yourselves. Amuse yourselves like I amuse myself. Let's see here. Let's go there, and then we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna find those spammers. I don't know why they're spamming us today. We must be doing something right. That the spammers they're coming in full force today, and I don't know how to knock them out. I know how to knock them out. I just can't get them to stay out. Let's see here. What's James have to say? James Stein, Tim, do you think this will be the next GM and the head coach after Shane Dable get fired by Mara after the season ends? And will Mara give the new regime control of football operations? We need a president of football operations. We need a football guy. We need someone to oversee everything. We literally do. We need that. We need someone to. If you want to make Bill Belichick the president of football operations, and then have him help pick the general manager and the head coach, I'm fine with that. We have to get out of this vicious cycle that we're in. And this vicious cycle is very simple. We just don't find the right guys. We just don't find the players. We don't find the coaches. You have to. I'm like I said, you got to think. You got to take a nice, I guess, a nice round of applause for the likes of Shane Bowen coming in here. But normally we strike out, and we have to look at that. And I don't know why we keep missing these things as an organization. You know, it's quite difficult to be like the Packers, who went from Favre to Rodgers to Love. And even Love, they had questions about. You saw people and pundits say, you need to trade him. And then we kind of see what happened with him as well. So it's one of those things is, you know, I've said this before, you're not always going to hit on your first quarterback. You're not always going to hit on your first choice. But the problem is this, you need to at least hit once in a while. And the ability of the Giants to continuously make the bad move, make the bad hire, make the big mistake is kind of what's hurting this franchise and always has been, and especially since going back to 2011. So we got to figure something out. Blackbird said, I love this channel. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Zach Attack comes in strong. And the Rooney's and Maras are very intertwined, but they're opposite football philosophies. The Steelers, all they do, I love the Steelers fans because they complain. Because they complain that all they do is win. Could you imagine if we've had the Steelers record? If you go back and take a look at the Steelers all-time record, could you imagine what Giant fans would be like? How insufferable we would be? If you go back to, let's go back to you know, here, this is fun. Here we go. Let's say the last bad Steelers season was 2003. They were 6-10. These are their win totals since 2003. 15, 11, 8, 10, 12, 9, 12, 12, 8, 8, 11, 5, 11, 11, 9, 8, 12, 9, 9, 10, and now they have 5. That's going back all the way to 2003. And that was the last losing season the Pittsburgh Steelers had was 2003. And Steeler fans complain about Tomlin. They complained about Bill Cowher. But all you do is win, and all you do is go to the playoffs. And I love it because someone told me the other day, well, it's not just about getting to the playoffs. Well, no, I think your entire goal as an organization is to get to the playoffs. And if you take a look at the pinnacle of getting to the playoffs and having a winning record, it's going to be it's one of the teams is the Steelers. They haven't had a losing record since 2003 season. Now, going by my math, if it's 2003, carry the 4, it's 2024, and you minus the 3 and carry the 6. That means they haven't had the losing season in 947 years. I mean, come on. We would kill to have that. Zach Attack also says the starting center for the Steelers is Zach Frazier. I believe he's from West Virginia. Davey, what's up, Davey? Hey, Tim, hi there. DJ, how many head coaches will he kill today? Well, he's working on his third. Kevin Abrams still has a right jab. Of course, that a job right. No, Kevin Abrams. I was does Kevin Abrams still have a job? I don't know if Kevin Abrams has a job. No, he doesn't. Bobby Johnson, former offensive line coach, still has a job, and he's got the talent playing well over in Washington. You know what's weird? We bring in the guy from the Raiders because he's going to coach up all these guys. He's going to coach everybody up, and he's going to be better than Bobby Johnson. He's going to turn Joshua Zuda and these other players around. but we basically gave him outside of Evan Neal and a few other players, we basically gave him an entirely revamped offensive line. So is he really coaching anyone up? Because he's also coaching two of the guys that he already had. Mr. Bruce says the Yankees are the only thing that gave me hope about New York sports. Now I'm drinking bleach diluted with Listerine. Don't drink bleach. That's not good for you. We're gonna do a little bit of a PSA. Bleach is bad. Listerine is good. Gives you nice minty clean breath. The series changes when you go to New York. The series changes if you win this next game. Yeah, it was that walk off that really killed them, deflated them. They were starting to get a rally in the ninth, and it fell short. Aaron Judge, we don't know what's going on with Aaron Judge right now. He's kind of pulling an A-Rod outside of that one A-Rod World Series. But like I said, you win in New York and you go 2-1. It's a different series going into game 4. Johnny ABA says Mero should have done something to screw up DJ. Is such a fake way to take accountability. It wasn't a we problem. Someone had the final say in keeping DJ year after year after year uncontested at quarterback. My problem with him continuously saying we've done everything to screw this kid up, then you're part of the problem, Mara. Then you have the issue itself. You're the problem itself. Because of the fact that you are at the top. If you were to build a pyramid and you had the one person at the top of the pyramid, at the pinnacle of the pyramid, it would be Mara and Tish. Now, Tish is responsible for football, for the NFL business end of it. The Maras, for years, have been responsible for the football operations. And we've seen the growth of the business end of the Giants. We just haven't seen the growth of the other end of the Giants, of the football operations. What do we got? EC1 Football says, giving me a big old thumbs up. Thank you, Mr. Bruce. Also says, and Tim, you got spammers because you're doing shit right. If you ain't got no haters, you ain't popping. You know what? Because I'm just going to drop it like it's hot. That's just me. Razzle the Great says, 2003, I wasn't even born yet, bro. The Steelers have been competent and will run the organization my entire life. 2003 was the last losing season. Now you had 500 seasons, you had some 8-8s, but that was their last losing season. I was thinking about looking at the Giants record since 2003. Do I dare? Do I believe I can fly? And do I want to look at this? Let's go look at the Giants record since 2003, just out of curiosity. 2003, let's see here. We're going to go from the wins from 2003. 4, 6, 11, 8, 10, 12, 8, 10, 9, 9, 7, 6, 6, 11, 3, 5, 4, 6, 4, 9, 6, 2. Let's read that one more time. Going back to 2017. 3, 5, 4, 6, 4, 9, 6, 2. Like I said, if I'm a Steelers fan, I would never complain ever about what's going on in Pittsburgh. Because like I said, we'll go back again from 2003, which is their 6-10, their first losing season. Now what happened is they were, let's see here. They go 6-10, they go 15-1, then 11, 8, 10, 12, 9, 12, 12, 8, 8, 11, 5, 11, 13, 9, 8, 12, 9, 9, 10, and now they have 5 wins. So they're probably on pace for another 10 wins this season. We would kill for that. Razzle the Great says, meanwhile, the Giants, 2 Super Bowls in that span, have fallen off the cliff. They have not only fallen off the cliff, someone, as a bad joke, put a trampoline at the bottom of the cliff. So the Giants fell off the cliff, bounced back up, and then someone removed the trampoline again. Wildy Coyote is somewhere laughing right now. Darian says, yeah, I hate Steelers fans for that. They win Super Bowl. They have a Super Bowl winning coach who hasn't had a losing season yet, and you want to get rid of him. Makes me look at them weird. Think about that. The Steelers have not had a losing season under Tomlin. No losing seasons. And there is such an animosity at times with Steeler fans and Tomlin that they want to get rid of him. You got lucky when you got rid of Bill Cowher. You got lucky. And you think the lightning is going to strike twice? Remember when the Eagles got rid of Andy Reid? Anyone remember Chip Kelly? Everyone remember that fiasco? They were then crying and whining that we should never have gotten rid of the Walrus. Giant fans, we get rid of head coaches every 3 years, and we just can't find the right one. The Steelers have one playoff game since 2011. That's why the Steelers fans complain. But I'll take whatever. Had one playoff game since 2011, or was that supposed to have one playoff game since 2011? Because I would say they've been to the playoffs a bunch of times since 2011. What do we got? We got Davies. Don't overrate Steelers. They've had 20 good years until they hired Cat. But that's what I'm saying. I'm not overrating the Steelers. How many Super Bowls does the Steelers win having compared to the Giants? I'm not overrating them. I'm putting out the point there that they hire with consistency. We just talked about how you went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers to Love. You have an organization, that you had Noel, and he gave you all those Super Bowl wins, but he also went through a desert and a valley. And the Steelers did go for the Cordell Stewart years and looking at the Mark Malone years. They kind of went through a valley a little bit. But they've always come out, and they've come out for a consistent period of time. Will Rob make an apology to Bobby Johnson? No, Rob. We all know R0B hates Bobby Johnson. Bobby Johnson has gone to another team and helped improve an offensive line. Maybe it wasn't we also had one of the greatest offensive line coaches that we brought over from Dallas a couple of years ago who got fired. Couldn't work with his talent either. Maybe it's not the coach. Maybe it's the talent. And I do find it interesting, like I said, that when we brought in the new offensive lineman, we also basically brought in a new offensive line. The Commanders' offensive line looks good. They scored 16 straight drives and have a winning record. That's what I'm saying. Maybe it's the talent. Maybe it's not the player. And then maybe it's not the coach itself. Mara is perpetually the problem with Daniel Jones. I think perpetually is a good word. I think Mara has a little bit of Jerry Jones in him. We've talked about this. I think Mara needs to take a step back from the football operations and just let the football guys talk. I think that's going to be the best thing for them. Just allow the football, your GM, your head coach, to talk about the quarterback. While your opinion is valued as an owner, you don't have the best track record. Razzle the Great says, yeah, Tim, let's dig into the Giants record over the last 21 years. I know I shouldn't have done that. Cutthroat also comes in and says, I don't get why Tish doesn't step in and tell Mara that he's a moron. Well, I think the reason, couple of years back after the doo-doo era, Tish kind of gave an edict to Mara, because they own 50, it's 50-50 ownership. And basically says that if you don't write this stuff, and get the right guy, then we want to get you a judge, that we're going to, he's going to come in and want to take over football operations. I don't think it's a bad idea to move on and to get a fresh, get Tim Mara out of there, get everyone else out of there. We have tried to flush out the minutia. But the problem is the septic tank is still backed up because there's still a dirty sock and some underwear in the septic tank. And you're never going to fully clean it out until you get rid of everyone. You take a look at the fact that everyone got excited that the Giants now have a modern day draft room. They put neon in it. That's what they did. They put neon in the draft room, and everyone's telling me what a modern day draft room it is. Okay. I didn't know lights itself could actually make someone draft better, because who could screw up 5 and 7? The last 5 years sound like winning pick 6 lottery. I should play those numbers. 2003 Kerry Collins era. Yeah, Kerry Collins, like I said, we ran into the quarterback desert with the likes of Danny Cannell, Dave Brown, Kent Graham, and others. And we got lucky that we fell into Kerry Collins because of his alcohol problem. And the fact that he got run out of Carolina, he flamed out with the Saints. And we got lucky that there was a resurrection with him and Jim Fossil. Blackbird says, I was one in 2003. What do we got here? Mr. Bruce says, does Joe with the blow in his nose deserve a chance to pick our future quarterback after a fantastic contract he gave to our fantastic quarterback, Danny Field Goals? I've said this before, and I'm going to keep saying it again. You can't sit there and blame the likes of Gettleman for Daniel Jones anymore. The moment the ink dried on that deal that Joe Shane gave Daniel Jones, Daniel Jones was then his quarterback. That was his guy. And there's no other way around. There's no other way to look at it, because you give a kid $160 million because he had an average season in a 7-2 start and a playoff year and hadn't done really anything prior to that. And you have this ability that you think you have this offensive minded head coach that's going to come in and turn everything around, and he doesn't. There's a problem. And I kept telling people the day that ink dried on that contract, and nobody wanted to listen. I said, this deal sucks. Everyone keeps telling me, well, there's an out in 2 years. And I said, okay, if he gets injured or if he flames out, you're not going to be good again until 2026, 2027, because you're probably not going to go. And I always tell people, go back and watch the video. I said, you're not going to draft the quarterback probably until 2025. You're going to need at least a year or two for that quarterback to progress. If you're lucky, it'll be 1 year, so you'll be good in 2026. And I keep looking at this timeline now. Okay, so now if we draft a quarterback in 2025, we give him a year to maturate. We're not looking at being good till 2026, 2027. The moment you give someone this contract that is an albatross, this contract that eats up 18.6% of your cap space, your quarterback, of course, is your most important position. I think the quarterback is the most important position in sports because he handles the ball outside of a pitcher the most. And without a good quarterback, you can count on your left hand how many average to bad quarterbacks have won Super Bowls. And you normally, when that happens, it's because they have a stellar defense. You know, everyone automatically goes to Trent Dilfer. Everyone automatically goes to Brad Johnson. We got to think. These are things I don't know. I don't know why we don't think about this. Blackbird also says Daniel Jones has not completed a 20-yard pass since the Seattle game. He's not going to. There is an old baseball saying about a player that he stepped into the bucket. He's stepping into the bucket, which basically means when he's taking his front foot and going forward, it's going out to the side. It's literally, if you're right-handed, let's say you're a right-handed batter and you have your left foot, stepping in the bucket means you're taking your left foot and you're basically striding out to the outside. You're bailing out because you're either afraid of the ball or you just have a bad stance and you don't want to get hit, or you just don't want to be, you think a fastball's coming and you just don't want to be there. So you're kind of bailing out by striding your front foot out of the batter's box to the side, stepping into the bucket. And I watched Daniel Jones throw, and I did a video, I think last week, where I said he kind of looks like when he's throwing now, especially his deep pass, he's stepping into a bucket. He's striding with that front foot and kind of striding it off to kind of a weird side. And I don't know if it's because of the fact that he is having issues with his neck or if he's just having issues with his throwing motions. It's just weird to watch. When he bounced the ball to Slayton, and the drop ball was all Slayton's fault. If you watched it before he even went and planted to throw, Daniel Jones had this little giddy up, this little hitch before he strided into his throw. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird to watch. It was like back in Andrew Thomas's rookie season when I kept telling people something's wrong. Because when he's going back on, I said something has to be wrong with his knee or his ankle, because when he goes back into pass protection and he comes out of his stance, he's got this little hitch in his step when he's going backwards. And then it turned out he had to have ankle surgery. But you could see it. So that I'm kind of questioning what's going on with Daniel Jones with that. And nobody really wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that Bobby Okereke gave up on plays. No one wants to talk about the fact that Daniel Jones has zero velocity on a lot of his outside throws. Zero. He's never been known to have a Nolan Ryan type fastball. He's not Roger Clemens. He never was. But I also didn't think he was Phil Niekro. And I didn't think he was Chad Pennington. But there's just the velocity's not there. And Tomlin won them a Super Bowl. He did. Tish is too busy with Hollywood wannabe starlets. Okay, that could be a good reason. Razzle says they took them 2 Super Bowls and they still complain. Bro, I pray they would let Tomlin go, but Mara would not allow him to go to Dallas or something. So we know what happened with if Tomlin ever left Pittsburgh. You know that would happen. Tomlin, we would have the first crack at Tomlin, and Mara would sit there and go, well, I know you've never had a losing record. I know all you do is make the playoffs and you won a Super Bowl, but just to let you know, if you take this job, Daniel Jones has to be the starting quarterback. Kind of like it's going to be a Russell moment. Chip Kelly, 50 quick offensive, kill the Eagles defense. Yeah, the Chip Kelly was just a disaster outside of that one season. Blackbird McKnight says the Steelers won 1 playoff game since 2011, but how many times have they gone to the playoffs since 2011? It was the likes of Peyton Manning, who could never win the playoff game, who could never win the big one, and then he does, and then that put that to the end of that. Razzle says the Tommy Maddox era. Tommy Maddox. Well, Tommy Maddox actually, of course, with the Giants, came over with Dan Reeves after he was drafted first overall at one point in time to be the heir apparent to John Elway way too early. And then Maddox actually went to, which is interesting because we all know he went to the Steelers and had that one really good renaissance season and then fell back off and became Tommy Maddox again. The Steelers have had 3 coaches in their history. Sounds like someone the Giants used to be. Cutthroat says, if the Steelers get rid of Tommy, do you think the Giants will hire him? No. No. I think there's a defensive coordinator over in Minnesota that's probably sitting there and saying, no. The Giants don't hire guys like us. I'm just throwing that out there. Chip Kelly and the Eagles manager got rid of the Eagles' good players as well. Jackson, Vick, and McCoy. They did because they had salary cap issues. Davey says the problem, they need an experienced GM. They got to stop hiring these hot assistant GMs. The problem is, Davey, they hired Dave Gettleman. People forget Dave Gettleman was here with the Giants during the early Super Bowl years, went and took a Carolina Panther team, drafted the likes of Cam Newton, took him 15-1 at one point in time, led him to the Super Bowl under Ron Rivera. And then, the wheels fell off the bus because one of Gettleman's weaknesses is the fact that he has a problem understanding talent in regards to free agency. That season that they went 15-1, they brought in a bunch of older free agents, which all kind of clicked under Cam Newton. But when you have Cam Newton, who was basically Superman back in those days, as your quarterback, that's a little bit different. What does Robert have to say? What's up, Robert? Hey, Tim, love the show. Mara coming out this week and saying he's not making any changes and saying he's keeping Shane and Dable. We are just so screwed. Robert, I wish there was better news and better topics to talk about in regards to the Giants, because you love the show. And I appreciate that as always. But you're right. The fact that you don't sit there and say, hey, maybe we should just, let's say the Giants only win 5 games. You would think the owner wouldn't have given the seal of approval until the end of the season. Could it be that you waited until like the last game and say, you know what, then give your seal of approval? We're bringing these guys back, but you give it now when you're a 2-win team? I don't know. The common denominator is Mara. The common denominator has always been Mara. Matthew says also the goofy face of the Giants record the last 11 years. We are the Goof Troop. Make sure, and if you want to come out and see the Goof Troop live, go to the Shannon Rose Irish Pub in Clifton, New Jersey, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow. We're going to be there. James going to be there. Swing Culture TV is going to be there. We're going to have Big Al Gigante in the house. Chris, for the love of MMA, is going to be stopping by as well. We got some other people stopping in. So, we're going to be live streaming from the pub. Make sure you stay tuned for that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And we're going to call the first half. So, I don't know. Like I said, we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. Matthew says, it's Danny field goals, and I love it. Davey says Kerry Collins, the most successful quarterback out of Penn State. What about Todd Blackledge? What we got here? Mr. Bruce coming in strong. Said Jabari says, I do start Tank Bingsley over Jordan Mason this week in fantasy football. I'm relying on you and your football fantasy GOAT status. That's actually an interesting question. If it's I don't know. First of all, I just like the name Tank. I mean, I just like the name Tank. Of course, you got Mason, filling in for the injured McCaffrey. He's a guy. I think he's got over 600 yards right now. I mean, I would probably have to go with Mason. Mr. Damian Jack says, Tim, the whole world besides a few people were like, if we would have paid Daniel Jones, that is what hurts. The entire NFL, the other 31 teams, sat there and kind of looked befuddled when the Giants gave Daniel Jones all that money. And it was the 11th hour push from the Mara that evidently got the deal done, but you literally were befuddled that they did it. Most of the people in the league thought that it was going to be a Mitchell Trubisky second contract, like an $8 million contract. And it wasn't. Who remembers Jimmy Clausen? His parents. Jimmy Clausen. Yeah, Jimmy Clausen. We at one point in time, didn't we bring in Jimmy Clausen? Carolina Panthers legend, Zach. He is a legend in his own mind. I remember Jimmy. What about him? Yeah, what about Jimmy Clausen? Weren't we going to bring him in at one point in time? James Stein says, Tim, do you have any suggestions for the Giants franchise to improve their team next year in the terms of players and coaches and management going forward in 2025 and beyond? Continuity and consistency. Like Davey said a couple messages back, I think the Giants need to stop with the hot shot GMs. I think Ryan Poles would have been a better pick for the Giants. Ryan Poles, if you were looking for a player that came from the right way to do things, that's the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Brandon Brown at times would have been a better solution than Joe Shanks. I think Brandon Brown at times is the yin to Joe Shane's yang. That he basically told Joe Shane during Hard Knocks, and some people are like, why does everyone singularly focus on Hard Knocks? Because the fact that it was such a windows into the mind's eye, and it's such a dilemma that you had general managers recently come out and say, you know what's funny? You don't run a team this way. And they were kind of all surprised. And Brandon Brown had to basically tell Joe Shane and the staff, listen, you want to go out and get a number one wide receiver. You want to get out a guy that's going to be, a legend in New York. You're going to have to deal with some of his idiosyncrasies and deal with the fact that he may be a dickhead, that he may be an Odell Beckham. And I never thought what Odell ever did was so wrong. Yeah, the marrying the net thing was stupid. The fights he had with what's the name, the corner, was dumb. The peeing in the end zone, the dog peeing in the end zone didn't make sense. The dance videos, the wacky cigarettes he was smoking with the French model in bed, in comparison now in 2024, all that stuff is amateurish. So I think they have to have an understanding. You have to get out of the Giant way, and you have to come in with a 2025 philosophy. Then not every player is going to be a choir boy. Some players you're going to have issues with. I never thought I don't think Deonte Banks is a bad kid, but I do think he's a little bit diva-esque. And I find it funny that people want to bench him for a series or a half, Banks that is, but you don't want to bench Malik Neighbors for basically showing up and showing out Daniel Jones. You're gonna let that slide. So you're gonna kind of do the early OBJ. We're just not gonna pay attention to the antics because of the talent. And then when the talent, or I should rephrase it, when the antics gets bigger than the talent, then we're gonna say something. So right now, Banks is not having the greatest season. So you're kind of looking at Banks saying, okay, we're gonna kind of go from there. David says, out of curiosity, will Sam Darnold will we sign Dan Darnold if he becomes available? Everyone keeps forgetting JJ McCarthy's there. But And you have to see if Sam Darnold is going to flame out, or this is a Tommy Maddox 1 year wonder. Daniel Jones has thrown Darren Waller to retirement. Malik Neighbors into concussions. He is special. And he ran Evan Ingram out of here on a rail. He ran out Smooth Sounds of Kenny G. He also ran out Golden Tate. There is just so many. We don't look at the fact that we have a player that potentially is the cause and the root of all evil to this franchise. We always talk about the curse of Eli Manning and how we need to exercise the curse of Eli Manning because of the fact of what we did to him with Geno Smith. And I laughed that the last win came on the weekend that Eli got the nod to be on the list to go into the Hall of Fame. What do we got? Davey says Kerry Collins had a hitch in his throw, but it's not a hitch in his throwing. Daniel Jones has a hitch in the lower body of his throwing motion. Go back and watch. Zagatag says it looks like when a batter steps into the bucket when they are taking the swings. Yeah, it does. Like I said, it's called stepping into the bucket. I used to have that. I used to have that problem when I played baseball in high school. I got hit in the head in Little League. It's like, I don't know, like the last year of Little League. I got hit in the head. I got took a fastball in the noggin. And back in the day, those helmets weren't made like they were supposed to be. So when I was decided I had to play baseball in college and high school for a year, you kind of remember, you always remember getting hit in the head. So, like I had that propensity to stepping in the bucket with my stride because of the fact that I was trying to protect myself from getting hit in the head again. Mr. Weaver says, Tim, I didn't know you was on. A notification on Boone did the same thing to Mendez. I didn't know why you put the Cortez, and I don't know why you put in I don't know. Boone, I'm not even going to get into Aaron Boone because Aaron Boone to me, I never thought he's never going to be Joe Torre. And you laugh because after his Joe Torre's days in Atlanta and with the Mets, you never thought he was going to be good ever as a general manager. Excuse me, as a manager. He just does he's done confounding things, Aaron Boone, since the day he became the manager of the Yankees. And I'm not even a Yankee fan. Let's see here. How's your, let's see. John, everyone's doing good this morning. Oh, sorry, Giants. Fly, Eagles, fly. Fly, Eagles, fly. Where you been hiding? Flight. You know what? We don't have a fight song. We don't. We're doing well this morning. Thank you, where you behind Eagles fan coming in here. Giants should get a fight song. I don't know why that came to my head. Well, I know why, because I just saw Fly Eagles Fly. I always love when Eagle fan comes in. I'm gonna leave the Eagle fan up. Because you have to look at the Eagle organization, and you have to look at the Cowboys, and you got to look at the Commanders, and you got to look at what the Giants are. The Giants want to be the Commanders, the Eagles want to be the Cowboys, and the Cowboys want to be anyone else because they can't win anything. And I find it weird that I think this year, if the Eagles stay healthy, I already said they're going to probably win the division. I initially had picked the Cowboys, but I changed my mind about 2.5 weeks ago that I think it'll be the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Commanders, and then the Giants. And I do think the Cowboys and the Commanders could be interchangeable because of the way if Jaden Daniels comes back, but you saw the way Marcus Mariota played, but again, it was against Carolina. But there's just something with that offense with Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Hurts. There's something there. And I think if they all stay healthy, if they don't fall off the planet like they did last year, I think the Eagles make a run this year. Blackbird McKnight says, I have Evan Ingram and Kraft from Green Bay on my fantasy team. The two best tight ends in the season, only two consistent. Well, Evan Ingram's only just came back from that hamstring injury. Tommy Maddox saved his NFL career in the XFL where he was the MVP. That is correct. He did. I do remember that. Mr. Drone says, I wish I could be there at the Shannon Roast. Can't get there. I'm in Manhattan. I'll be there in spirit. You don't have to be there in spirit. You could be there on the, we're going to be live streaming. But I wish you could make it out. And like I said, if you are in the area Stop on by tomorrow. Shannon Rose Irish Pub, Clifton, New Jersey. We're going to be there. I'm going to be there earlier, but the show is going to kick off at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You're going to be able to see it on Twitter. You're going to be able to see it on YouTube. You're going to see it on the podcast as well. So, but make sure if you're in the area, stop on by. We're gonna have some of the regulars hanging out. We got Big L Gigante coming in. We got Chris for the Love of MMA. We got Swing Culture TV, James Williams. We're gonna try to get some other people coming down here as well that we're gonna try to confirm up. So we're gonna have a 3-4 person panel. Got all the microphones all set up. Shannon Rose, the Irish Pub in Clifton, New Jersey. Make sure you're there. If you're not there, you're dead to me. Of course, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. But of course, you can always join on the live stream. You can also join on Twitter as well, because we're going to stream on Twitter. I'm trying to figure out how to stream on Facebook, but you need a Facebook account to do that. So I'm not sure that's going to work out too well. Zach says, Josh Norman. Thank you, Josh Norman. I couldn't remember Josh Norman's name. Patrick comes in here and says, Giants should hire Brendan Brown if Shane gets fired. We have the venerable, of course. What about Brian Burns? We're going to have to change that, I'm thinking, too. What about Brendan Brown? See, it's interchangeable. Dale Jones got Saquon injured. Damian, we've talked about this before. You go back to Saquon Barkley's second season. He threw the pass that Saquon tried to get, and he twisted his ankle. Saquon is. The ACL was not Daniel Jones's fault because that was a non-contact injury. But 2 years ago, when Saquon Barkley missed a couple of games, it was going after an errant pass from Daniel Jones. I know we're seeing the common denominator here. Mr. Weaver comes in and says we have to hire Brown as GM at some point. We can't let him go. I think he does want to be a GM. But will the Giants stay in house for the likes of Brandon Brown? I still think they made a mistake over Ryan Poles. And I think they made a mistake in reference to their, I mean, I was never against the hiring of Dable. My man crush from Dable goes off and on all the time. We've talked about that a million times. But I wanted after the Judge failure and the Doo-Doo failure and the Shermer failure, I wanted a known commodity as a head coach. I wanted a no-nonsense defensive style head coach who could come in here and basically shape this team and get this team back into where it needed to be. And there was a guy, and like I say, he's now the defensive coordinator over at Minnesota. I'm not going to say whom, but he was the guy that could have came in here, and I thought he would have been the right fit for this team at the right time. But it just turned out, we're not going to bring it up because he's suing. Blackbird says, I have the Eagles winning the division, losing in the second rounds of the playoffs. I can see that. The Eagles, 2022, were their peak. I agree. Matthew has to also say, let's see, I will finally be able to get into Monday's stream. Have the night off for once. Well, then you should join on the stream. We got Mr. LeVar saying, Tim, I'm here. Let's talk. Mr. McCormack, what's going on? Tim, hey, I'm finally on a flight home to New Jersey from DFW. What's up? Well, let's see. The Giants play tomorrow. The Yankees lost, another heartbreaker. The Knicks smoked Indiana. Luke and Laura are going to the island to figure out where the weather machine is. Oh, I'm sorry, that's General Hospital. Everything's been going on. We got a lot going on in sports. It's gonna be fun as always. Matthew also says the issue I have is the GM truly the GM, or are they not an extension of Chris Mara, or do they have actual decision powers? I truly believe Shane is more of a figurehead than an actual decision maker. Do I think Mara's a decision? I still think this final decision. Does Joe Shane have total autonomy? Like the likes of, I think Jerry Reese had total autonomy. I think Gettleman had total autonomy to screw things up. I think George Young, of course, did. but I don't think if you think about it, I don't think he has complete control. I think some of the decision making is more of a Borg. It's more of a collective. I think the Daniel Jones decision was also a decision from upper management and the coaching staff. So I think it was a collective decision to lose with Daniel Jones. I don't think it was the right decision, but I do think it was a collective decision. So I do think it's I don't think he has full power. No, I really don't. Blackbird McKnight says the Celtics heating the Lakers one last night. Hit my parlay. Well, congratulations. Bronny James, though. I mean, people want to talk about how LeBron James is the GOAT. To me, LeBron James, winning has never been as important to him as being LeBron James is. And I think the fact that he forced the Lakers to draft his son, and then he basically forced the Lakers to play him and his son that first game, and now you're shuffling them between the D-League, shows me that LeBron James is not the GOAT, that his mindset isn't about winning, it's about the legacy of LeBron James. I could never imagine Michael Jordan sitting there and saying, knowing that his son sucks at basketball, and sitting there and saying, hey, you know what? You have to waste the second round pick on my kid, and you have to keep him through training camp, even though he is god awful. That summer league debut I think I got a better outside shot. Just the fact that he's god awful. And then you keep him on the roster that first game so they can create history as the first father-son duo to play on the same court together in the NBA game. That just took him down it just took him down in my eyes a lot, LeBron James. Because like I said, it's not about winning. It's not about the Lakers. It's never been about winning for him, because if he was so into winning, going and trying to creating the first super team, and continuously having to go places where he's got the Robin and the cat girl or whatever, not Batgirl with him, it just shows he doesn't want to, he went through the fact that he went through the frustration in Cleveland that he couldn't win on his own. People will say Jordan couldn't win it without Pippen, but how many games, how many Super Bowls, how many championships has Pippen won without Jordan? I think that should be the other question. So that's just what my LeBron James takes. Matthew says, I think the collective decision on what's going to ruin this team, they need to change that. Let Shane be the GM or bring someone in that will tell Mara to stay in his ownership box and out of the front office. I don't think that's ever going to happen. Blackbird says, let's see, LeBron is not even better than Kobe, and I love this combo. If I had to pick my GOAT, it definitely would have to be, you've got to go modern day era, though. Because I do think that there's so many great players that people haven't seen that don't know how great they are. I think if you take I never saw Bill Russell play because that was before my time, but you've seen the Bill Russell highlights, you've seen the stats, you've seen the championships. I mean, literally, if you go by just all that, Bill Russell should be the GOAT. If you're going modern era, I think you have to go Michael Jordan. And then honestly, I think number two, I think you have to go Kobe, because Kobe had the killer instinct. Kobe had the wherewithal to wanting to win. Kobe didn't sit there and pass up shots like LeBron does in reference to closing out games. Kobe had that killer instinct, and you just take the championships alone. You take him, he's won with and without Shaq. I mean, he was just a guy that you knew that basketball was the most important thing to him, and winning as the Lakers was the most important thing. So if you're gonna go outside modern era, though, I think you do have to go. I do think you have to go. Bill Russell, Bill Russell. Then you would have to go and sit there and throw an MJ. Then I'd probably go Kobe. Then I would probably have to go Wilt Chamberlain. Then you have to then I would even think about going Larry Bird over LeBron. That's just me. I know no one else wanted, besides Blackbird, no one else wanted to hear all that. Oh no, we had some comments that did. MJ, you want to put MJ number 2 and Kareem number 1, Kareem number 2. Kareem was longevity in a skyhook. And Kareem was on those teams with Cooper and Worthy and Johnson and everyone else, and Rambus. So it's kind of hard to put him in that perspective as well. Let's see here. LeBron is not even better than Kobe. I love this combo. LeBron cares more about stats than he does winning. Bronny James averaged 4.9 points at USC. He wasn't even the third option. He wasn't even the fourth option. Matt says, old school basketball fan. I never considered LeBron the GOAT, Jordan, or bust. If Jordan played consistently, his numbers would have eclipsed LeBron. He was the anchor of the Bulls, and also he took the year off to play baseball. Blackbird agrees. We got Jaden Jerome saying LeBron is the all-time great. He ain't no MJ. Is one of the all-time greats. No, he's not. Not a GOAT. Groot. I was wondering about that. Let's see here. Jersey Beaner says, sup, Tim? With primetime Jones win Monday night for the Duke. No, we're going to be 3-16. Put your scores in right now. We're closing this out. Put your scores in. Where do the Giants fall on this game on Monday night? Where are they going to go? Of course, as always, we're still giving away the replica Eli Manning Super Bowl ring. So put in your score. And don't forget, Monday night, Shannon Rose Irish Pub in Clifton, New Jersey. We're going to be there at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you're in the area, stop on by. If you're not in the area, you know what you need to do. If you're not in the area, you can go on live. You can go on the live stream. You can do all those fun things. You can find us on Twitter as well. So let's make sure you got your scores in there. Let's see here. We have Douglas dropping in the first score. Giants 31-10 Giants. We got Pittsburgh from Blackbird coming in. Let's see, Jane Drones comes in. Pittsburgh 38, New York 10. We have Blackbird coming in. Giants 20, Steelers 16. LeVar has the Giants winning this one 24-17. Listen, I'm not even at the bar yet. Are you people already drinking? Because it's a little bit early. Or is it a little bit late for April Fools? Make sure you got Matthews got the score coming in. Pittsburgh 34-14 Steelers. I do think the Giants can score 14 points. I do think that. I don't think they're gonna go the wrong way. We just got Joe Rev. What's up, Joe Rev? We got Giants 9, Steelers 30. We have Big Blue Forever coming in at 35-10 Steelers. We got LeVar dropping in at 24-17 Giants. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, don't waste no time drinking first thing in the morning. If you're a Giant fan, that's what you're gonna do first thing in the morning. That's how you're gonna get up. That's how you're going to start your day. I'm curious about how this is going to work out on Monday because of the fact that it's an open environment. So it should be a lot of interesting. I hope we get a lot of good conversation going on. I hope we get a lot of good dialogue. And if you're in the area, stop in. Say, hey, why not? From my understanding, the Irish mac and cheese is supposedly the bomb. James Stein comes in, says 35-10 Steelers are going to win this game. Razzle the Great has this dropping in. There's 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Stia Blazing comes in with 27-6 Steelers. We got Johnny ABA dropping in 38-6 Steelers. Russell Wilson's revenge game. Yeah, and everyone forgets about that. It's kind of a revenge game from Russell Wilson because people didn't hit the like. I keep forgetting to tell people hit the like. Let's see here. Matthew says on the season, Steelers allowed 2 more points than the Giants have scored. The Giants have allowed the most and the same amount the Steelers have scored. That's got to count for something. I love it, Giant fans. We're always looking for that. And I'm not making fun of you, Matthew. You know that. But I love it, Giant fans. We're always trying to come up with something. There's a movie with Tom Selleck called Mr. Baseball, and he's a former he's a Yankee, and he's a former World Series MVP, and he's getting traded to the team in Japan, and he's talking to people about how he's getting traded and how he's played well in a year and a half. And the first thing he comes up with, and it reminds me of certain Giant fans, that he says, "No, you can't trade me. I led this team in 9th inning singles in the month of October on Thursdays." There's always a stat. There's always a stat. Let's see. Ed Olson comes in going at the 28-10 Steelers. Matthew also says, I really hope this game, the DJ gets benched for the season. I hope so too. So we beat the Commanders next week too. If we beat the Steelers in Pittsburgh and we take the Commanders at home, I will probably fall over. And I would kind of leave it at that. Just watching what's going on around the house. It's more interesting doing it upstairs than it is doing it in the office. So that's why I'm kind of curious about how this is going to work, because you get to see everything. You get to see everything. Johnny ABA says, Tim, are you going to cover Rogan Trump on your podcast? That was 3 hours long. Their conversation was 3 hours long. I mean, I started listening to it, and I think I was 46 minutes in, and I'm like, there's still 2 hours and 2 hours and 14 minutes or whatever it is of this to go. I mean, it was very interesting, all of it. Blackbird is just happy as be. Do we have any more scores before we close it out? American Pedro Serrano and Mr. Baseball. Oh my God, that's true. We're waiting. We're going to go 2 more minutes, and we're going to wait for the last scores. Let's see. Blackbird also says we have to beat the Commanders and Steelers to save our season. What we do have to beat, if you're going to save your season at all, you got to beat the Steelers at home. And I'm hoping for Giant fans' sake that we do. And I'm hoping for the sake of the people at the Shannon Rose that they do, because then it'll be a fun night. If it's a Giant 35-17 loss, there's probably not going to be a lot of happy people. And I believe and if I'm not mistaken, the Yankee game's on at the same time. So we're going to have dueling TVs going on here. So I'm going to be very curious to see what happens. Mr. Alvarez says, supposedly managers waiting to see if the Giants can make a fluke run to the playoffs game. Jones isn't going to be gone until the Giants are statistically eliminated. 4-5 is more of a manageable season. Yes, it is. It is, but you're right. You're right. Before we leave, I want to open up the other mic because I don't know how it's going to sound. So hold on a second. Let's see. Kit, hold on. Excuse me, ma'am. Could you hand that to me, please? Unless you want to say hello. I have to. Let's see here. That's this. I have to check the second mic, and I don't have a willing participant to go on and check the second mic now. So now we're going to check the second mic to make sure that's working. And it seems like it works. Look at this. It's like a press conference. It's a Joe Shane press conference. Yeah, I'm going to take the question over there from the New York Daily News. Yes, no. Daniel Jones does suck, but at this point in time, I have a feeling that we need to keep him because I'm not smart enough to know how to get rid of him. All right, so it does work. Okay, at least I think it worked. How do you turn it off? That's the next one. Wait a minute. Now I got to figure out how to turn it off. Wait, no, it's off now. Okay, it's off now. All right. This is like last week. Everyone's behind the scenes here. We're going to get the last 2 going. Here's let's see here. Will the run D show up? I hope so. If not, we're going to get killed. What's up, Rocky? We're getting out of here, Rocky. Mr. Alvarez also says, hopefully we lose out. Willing for Ward. Ward was having a bad game, even though they were winning against Florida State. At one point in time, he only had 188 yards passing. And it was one of those games that if you watched him, I think it was more of a gut check game for him as well, because everything had been so easy for Cam Ward going up to that game, and I think that's kind of the game he needed against a bad. Florida State's a bad team, and I think it's the kind of game he needed against a bad Florida State team. It's a game I think we needed to see him. He still was 22 for 35 for 208, which was the lowest passing total of the season. He had 319, 473, 343, and 404. Didn't throw a touchdown pass. Was held to -4 yards, I believe, rushing. He did have a receiving touchdown. 7-yard catch for the touchdown, but I kind of think that was a gut check game that he needed a little bit to come back to earth a little bit.
And I do think it's going to be I think, like I said, I think he's going to be the guy. I want to thank everyone for hanging out as long as they did. Matthew says a bad game in college doesn't necessarily mean the prospect is bad. I would like to see the Giants get Beck or Ward and develop them. I'm not a Beck fan anymore. Carson Beck was my pick of the season. Watching him play, I'm just not, and with the talent around him, I'm just not seeing that progression that you would think from the guy such as Carson Beck. I wasn't a Cam Ward fan going back to his days in Washington State. But after watching him play, and a lot of people will tell you, he's got 3 Biletnikoff potential finalists on his team in the wide receiving corps, but you can only play with the talent you have. And if you put up 400 yards and you have immense talent around you, that tells me you're using the talent that you have. The last comment of the day from Asmi Timmer. All right, guys. It is 11:46. I want to thank the 100 plus some people we had hanging out today between between everything else, so the other social media outlets and YouTube. I want to thank everyone. Don't forget, we probably are not going to have a video on Monday. If I do a video, I'll do it tonight and post it for Monday because we are going to be leaving early to go to the Shannon Rose to set everything up. So that's going to be interesting. Have a great night, says Matthew Tim, and we'll see you tomorrow. And I want to thank everyone for hanging in and hanging out. I don't have music, so I forgot to put music on the soundboard. I got to do that before the end of today, but I want to thank everyone. And you know what, guys, we're going to see you on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check you out. Peace.